Like a homeboy? No, backwards.
Backwards, if anything, yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, I just froze. Do something. All right.
Super. Thank you very much, Darren. See, I don't know what I would do without you. Thank you for letting me know that my audio wasn't on. Okay, so like I was saying, sorry that I'm starting so late. Usually I like to start around 7 to get things rolling or whatnot. But unfortunately, I got off work late, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you know what that's like, especially if you work hard for your mighty dollar. I appreciate everybody who's watching right now. I appreciate everybody who's gonna watch. Without you guys, I wouldn't keep on doing this. But so it's just gonna be me today. I did have my normal crew, which is Jeff and Daniel, but I kind of gave them the day off today because one, I got off so late, and everybody say a prayer for Jeff because I think he's not feeling so good. It's probably just a common cold or something like that, but nothing to worry about. I'm sure he's going to be stroking again like he normally does. And Daniel, he just has too much stuff going on. So I think he would appreciate, not having to rush and come up with some of the things that I ask him to do for the show. But so I'm gonna try to do this on my own. It's been a minute since I've done one by myself, but that's okay though because I have you guys out there to support me and whatnot. So I appreciate that. As you guys know, this is Pacific Asian Month, and by all rights, I am Pacific Islander. So this is my ode to my Asian brothers and sisters out there. So I have a top 3 that I want to cover. So we're going to go over that. And if you have your top 3, feel free to let me know who you want to give a shout out to, basically. And yeah, we'll talk about it. All right, so first on my lineup, I'm going to go ahead and play a quick video of theirs, and then we'll talk about them. So coming in on number 3 of my top Asian pool players, this gentleman right here.
Superbe coup. Je crois qu'il a réussi à retenir.
Obviously, this is a younger version of him.
That's what he was doing on the practice table. Paper thin, right along.
Also, I want to take this time to say what's up
screens
to
a little bit
Backyard Billiards.
hit the barest
Chuck,
edge of this.
Say what's up to
He
Mr.
could even
Edit.
overcut it.
Darren,
It's very tight.
that's out there right now. What's going on? And the 4 other
Steve, exactly.
people that are watching.
Didn't intend that pocket. At least I didn't think he did.
I'm trying not to drown out the audio of this.
And the keyboard as well.
Yep. The object ball over
I'm kind of nervous.
barrier balls, and basically made it. So, it's pretty awesome. I would never try to do that in a game.
I need the volunteer.
High-strung player.
And then this right here.
He's won the leg, and that will give him the right to break the final game.
Look at this break. Look at this break.
The table has brand new cloth on the edge, and the pockets are very conducive to allowing many balls to drop in.
Wow.
Yeah.
6 balls on the break.
Wow.
Maybe you can search that one on YouTube. So, yeah. So number 3 of my choice is Alex Pagulayan, Filipino that shoots out of Canada. Great dude. I've had the pleasure of meeting him one time. He came to Washington to Malarkey's, and he was doing a like a little exhibition there. And he's like a really down to earth kind of cat. Very short. I mean, I'm 5'8" in the morning, 5'7" in the afternoon, but I think he's like maybe 5'4" or something like that. But he is a monster on the pool table. So yeah, that is my number 3 on my top 3. My number 2, play the short video right here.
As an international pool icon that has impacted thousands of lives all over the world, she is also a mom, friend,
That's right.
competitor, and
Doesn't
activist.
love Jennette L.
However you think of her, she is an
Black
incredible person with so many
And,
of us supporting
prayers and
her.
wishes to her
Jennette has
family
made an incredible mark on our
as she's
sport.
going through.
In the 1990s, she was ranked the #1 female pool player in the world after winning 3 WPBA Tour events, the U.S. Open 9-Ball Championship, and the WPBA Finals. She also has numerous other top finishes in the WPBA Tour, a gold medal in the United States World Games in Akita, Japan, and received Sportsperson of the Year award in 1998.
Awesome.
Her tournament resume spans over 2 decades. She was inducted into the Billiard Hall of Fame in 2013. To think she has done all this while living with scoliosis, arthritis, and more than 15 surgical procedures.
That is just a look of seriousness when you're playing against the Black Widow. Yep, she is my number 2. Not because of what's going on with her, but because she's had such an impact on the game of pool and APA. She is a brilliant spokesperson for billiards itself. Like I said, prayers and wishes go to her and her family as she's going through her time and whatnot. So, my Jennette Lee story. I went to Vegas in 2017, and she was doing her normal exhibition where she has a table right in a showroom, and then you come up and then you pay your certain amount of money to play a rack with her, and then as you're playing, she kind of sharks you with and without the mic, and it's just all kinds of fun and whatnot. So I mean, yeah, it's for a good cause and whatnot, but I definitely wouldn't want to play a set against her for any serious amount of money. Mr. Edit says, I grew up watching that woman. Yep, so have a lot of us, along with Johnny Archer, Mike Siegel, all those OGs of the billiards. So yeah, that is my number 2 pick for Pacific Islander Asian Month. So, and for those of you who know me intimately, you can only guess who my top player is for my top 3 of Asian players. It's no surprise that this man is also Filipino. So here we go. Yeah, you're probably wondering the same thing that I am, and that is, do all Filipinos end up looking like him when they get older? And the answer is yes. So, I'm already feeling like I have a lot of similarities to him, like brown skin and the tearing hairline. Just all right, so Mr. Edit or Ron, I'm gonna put you on the books for next week, along with AJ and Rooster. Funny story. Rooster actually called me and by accident trying to get a hold of you. I don't know if he told you the story or not, but yeah. So that's when I asked him. I think it was yesterday or whatnot. So that is my top 3 for Asian pool players that is out there that I not necessarily think that they're are better than any one person out there, but those are my 3 faves. So anybody else wanna let me know who your O2 Asian shooters out there? Feel free to put it into the chat. All right, so the only other thing that I wanted to really talk about is actually a couple things. One, so in Washington we are in phase 2, but yet we're still playing UPA, we're still playing BCA leagues, and we're still conducting pool tournaments. So I just wanted to address that just real quick. So I held a pool tournament not too long ago. Backyards Billiards is saying Francisco Bustamante. Yes, he is definitely one of a very talented pool shooters. Thank you for sharing that, Chuck. Appreciate that big time. Anyway, so last weekend I held a ball pool tournament at the break room. It went really well. We had 19 players. Out of those 19, we did a race to 3 on the winner side, 2 on the loser side, and it went from 12:45 to close to 6:30, and then finally we got our winner. So, and that was using 6 tables. Had we used more tables than that, I'm pretty sure that it would have went a lot quicker. But it was ran pretty good. The thing that I want everybody to know about that, because it seems like there's a lot of concern about gathering at a establishment like this and being at 25%. Now, of course, this percentage is based on the maximum capacity. So, checking with the staff, their maximum capacity at 25% is 50. That's what they are telling me. So, again, the participants that I had for that pool tournament at a time at close to about noon, max wise, there was about 23 people to, that's players and plus ones or whoever wanted to come and hang out. So not only that, we were well within those guidelines. Nobody shot without a mask. We exercised our social distancing, and we were just, following the rules and whatnot. So health-wise and safety-wise, we did our precautions. So, and as far as I know, nothing was reported from that event. So, and coming up with another one this Saturday over at the break room, same time, same format. I actually might go a little bit faster this time by opening up 2 more tables, so it would be 8 tables altogether. Because I guess they also did $700 in sales for that business. So helping out small businesses, that's exactly what we did. Even though that we didn't expect anything from the bar, Tiffany, who is the head bartender, did kick in a little bit. I'll leave it up to her to disclose how much that was, but she wanted to support us as best as she could. So yay, thank you very much. And thank you, Bob, for being our bartender that day and making sure everybody was not thirsty. So, all right, on the chat, let me address some of these. Backyard Billiards also wants me to mention John Mora. Mr. Edit wants me to address Kim Ga-young pretty solid. Yes. Let's see, who else do we got? Backyards Builders. Yes, the Co brothers. Jikundu, who is my buddy out of the reserves. David, he says the Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson, funny. I should have probably read that before I read the whole thing. Thank you. And then Simming. I'm not sure who Simming is. My bad. But I'm pretty sure that is a well-known pool player, just not by me right now. So apologize for that. Terrible. All right, so back to the pool tournament that we're going to conduct this Saturday. Again, we're going to follow the same protocol, and I've already received a couple messages on Facebook with the health concerns. So I did a little bit of research, and I pulled up some literature stating that as long as the bar follows certain guidelines, to include what we practiced during the first pool tournament, and for them to continually sanitize everything, we should be good to go. And I do not see us going past the 50 people in the establishment mark for sure, because I just won't let that happen. This pool tournament that's coming up, I'll probably cap it around, I want to say 25, just to be on the safe side. So that way, patrons can come in that want to enjoy watching pool, can do so and have a good time and eat and whatnot. So, am I streaming it? Not until, hey Roopster, how's it going? I just told Darren, and I'll get a hold of AJ that I'm going to have you, Darren, and AJ on my show next week. So those of you watching, and those of you who know what Darren, Mr. Ed, is all about with his channel, with AJ and what he does with pool, and then now we have Roopster and what he does with his content. I'm going to call it the Creators 2. Maybe I can finagle little Chris to come on as well. Who knows who I'll have on. I might have some local celebs down here. And when I say celebs, like people like me. Not saying that I'm a celeb, but anyway, practice room. Dana, hey, how's it going? You really didn't miss the start. I mean, there wasn't much to the start. Just a couple, my top 3 Pacific Islander pool players, and obviously my number 1 was Efren R, my number 2 was Jennette L, and then my number 3 was Alex Pegalion. So yeah, check it out on the recast. But right now, I just covered the pool tournament that I'm going to be hosting at the break room here in Tacoma at 8 Ball. So that should be kind of fun. Now, what I want to get into is, and it probably doesn't pertain to a lot of people that are on the stream right now, because you probably already have your cues and how you found your cues. But this is mainly for people who have not decided to get a cue yet. Again, if you know anything about my channel, it is geared towards the new player demographic. So like if you're just starting out, or if you want to get into leagues and whatnot, well, this is a good start for you. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go to the chat room right there so everybody can see it. And we're just going to go over simple stuff like first and foremost, when you, and chime in anybody, and I'll try to answer or reflect anything that you say, make sure that I mention you. But to ensure that, obviously you're on the screen. So when you first go into a bar and you see this table with 6 holes in it, and people hitting these balls around on top, it's, to some people see it as, a stupid game. To other people, it's interesting because there is a lot going on that table, really. It's not just about banging balls around. So one of the things that you use to accomplish this ball pocketing phenomenon is a cue stick. So when you first go into a bar, and you decide to put in your, what is it, $1.50 now to put into the little slot thing if you're not renting the table, is a pool cue. And you're gonna, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna give you a bar cue, which is, bar cues are fine. It's good if you're just a recreational player and you just want to, hit some balls around and whatnot. But here's the thing with bar cues, and this is solely my opinion. Bar cues tend to be worn greatly. So, you got your people that when they're trying to tell you what pocket they're going to go into, they usually tap the stick onto the table, right on the corner. Like they're not gentle with it either. They're just like bang, bang, bang. You could literally see the shaft kind of bend and whatnot. So, and then not only that, the tips are either mushroomed, or you got a tip that has a slide-on ferrule. The shaft is bumpy because of the whole tapping on the edge of the table. It's sticky. So it's just, again, if you're just there to bang balls around, you really don't notice those things because your main focus is trying to hit the white ball to hit another ball and get that ball to go down into the hole, right? But once you start seeing the allure of the game, you're going to want to buy your first 2-piece cue. All right, so let's talk about 2-piece cues. And let me go to the chat real quick. So we got Backyards Billiards. Chuck saying that his was a player's cue. Let's see. Roopster said a nickel during Gizmo's time. That's how much it was back in the day during Gizmo's time. That's funny. But like when you decide to buy your first 2-piece cue, all right, and here's the advantages of doing that. One, right away, you are gonna have a sense of ownership. Not for the cue, but for your skills and for your game. So you're going to pay a little bit more attention to what you're actually doing on the table. And that correlates to your stroke. It correlates to your bridge. It correlates to your stance. It correlates how you aim. So those things immediately, just because you will own your own pool stick 2-piece, and it's just gonna make you make sure that you focus more. Mr. Edit says mine was a Eric Strickland graphite. Now, did Eric Strickland actually come out with a graphite stick, or was it like the graphite particles put on an aluminum shaft? Because I think I had one of those. Anyway, so let's talk about choosing. For those of you who are just joining us, right now we're talking about cues that are geared for beginner players and for players that want to get a little bit more serious. Now, for those of you out there, do you think it's a good idea to go ahead and buy a $500 to $1,000 cue if you're just starting out the game? My personal belief about that is, if you have the money and you want to spend that much and it makes you feel good, by all means do it. But do not expect your game to get onto a pro level just because you have a $1,000 cue. You have to put in the table time. That is something that I do believe. that you have to put in the table time and work on your game. Dana says, I still have a aluminum Mosconi cue from the 60s. I would love to see a picture of that, actually. Dana, would you... there you go, Dana. How about jumping on next week with me and Roopster and Mr. Edit for the next show? Hopefully you can join us. I will message you guys on Discord to get the particulars on that. So anyway, back to the discussion. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So when you get yourself a pool cue, you know, the cost, don't go overboard on the cost unless it really makes, unless you really want to, you know what I'm saying? But again, your expectation for your game, keep it at something that's attainable. So what happens when you get yourself your first cue? All right. So first of all, when you're choosing a cue, one, you want to, let's see. First, you want to make sure that your cue is made out of, I got it right here. Wow, I can't believe that. Okay, here we go. So when we're talking about cues, you want to make sure that your cue is made out of North American grade A hard rock maple. All right. And the reason being that you want it to be made out of that is because it doesn't warp as fast. But you still need to take care of your cue. All right. What you want to stay away from, though, are the low quality big box store cues that come in blister packs. Basically, they're made out of raming wood, so you want to stay away from those unless you want to put some money into a cue that you're probably going to shoot once or twice. You drop it, you hit hard with it, you let other people get on your cue, and then all of a sudden it's going to be doo-doo, so you don't want that. Also, another advantage that you get when you find when you're looking for a cue is the ferrule. All right. So the reason why I say the ferrule will let you know a couple things. One, if you have a standard pool cue, the ferrule is going to be relatively long on it. Usually, ferrules that are relatively long will let you know that it is a high deflection cue. Now, for somebody who is just starting out playing pool, what does that mean to me? Not a whole lot. Reason being is because what you should be doing when you're first starting out is concentrating on hitting center ball and making your shots and your aim and your, the whole foundation of your shooting prowess has to be established first. All right, before you even think about deflection or whatnot. Deflection usually comes in once you start understanding spin and English and whatnot. But as a beginner, just looks like I'm having an error on my thing. Is everything going all right out there in the looks good. All right. Okay. Well, sorry about the interruption. I actually got an error message. So I'm going to continue on unless you guys let me know that something bad has happened. All right. So anyway, so the ferrule, longer ferrule, that is your standard. It's going to let you know that it's kind of a high deflection. All right. But once, what you really want to start out with is a low deflection shaft. And the way that you can tell is that the ferrule is relatively smaller or shorter on the shaft itself. So look for that. Now, I mean, so just to cover deflection real quick. So if you decide to put spin or English on a ball, especially if the distance is greater, that's how much of an offset of a when you strike the ball and it travels to the object ball, how much of a variance it is from being off center, I guess, if that makes any sense. So there's plenty of good tutorials on deflection out there. Namely, there's one by Dr. Dave. I know Little Chris has one explaining deflection. So if you want to know more about that, check that out. So for beginners, I would say, get your standard cue. That's fine. Go to your local pool shop. And the reason why I'm not saying like go to like Big Five or even Walmart or anything like that, and that's the cue that you're going to start out with, it's because they are manufactured in massive bulk. So the in like the intention and the craftsmanship and all that really isn't there. It's more about getting as many as you can out there so you can sell as many as you can. Now, when you go to a pool shop, yes, they're going to be a little bit higher than your normal like $45 to $50 pool cue that you might find at Big Five, that you might find at Walmart or whatnot. But you don't want those kind of cues, especially if you're really thinking about jumping into league and you want to take a little bit more time with your pool cues and stuff. So you can find a pretty good Sneaky Pete at your pool store that has everything that you're looking for. Although the deflection might be a little bit high, but you're going to get a couple things. You're going to get a better tip that you would from Walmart or your local Big Five sporting goods, Dick's, whatever. You're going to get like a medium tip. All right. I would suggest if you are not accustomed to your stroke and how you shoot, get a medium tip, medium hard. Reason being is because you're not going to know how to finesse the shot, if you will. You're going to have pretty much a standard stroke until you start to understand the speed and your stroke. All right, so that will, if you get a medium hard, that will definitely lower your maintenance on the tip. Because the softer tip, if you just smash the ball all the time, you're going to have to form the tip all the time. You're going to run down the tip because you have to form it. That's where the mushrooming comes in. So again, in choosing a pool cue when you first start out, look for a low deflection shaft, look for a medium hard. On the shaft itself, they vary in size. Now, get a standard 13, that's plenty fine. And you don't want a pro taper. Reason being is because you don't need a pro taper at the moment. You need to work on your fundamentals. And a pro taper, it is very abrupt as you're going down the shaft because it takes a different... so as you're going down the shaft, it's not consistent. And that's the reason why it's pro tapered. When you get just a standard shaft, it's consistent all the way from the joint all the way to the ferrule. And that's what you want, because then that will give you a gauge of how far you're stroking. If your stroke is too far or too short, if your bridge hand's too far, that kind of thing. So, and then let's talk about cost. The cost of a cue. Now, like I said, a good $60 Sneaky Pete will be fine. Now, those of you who... Now, if you're looking for a new cue, obviously you don't know what I'm talking about being a Sneaky Pete. Sneaky Pete basically is a pool cue that looks like a bar cue. But they are fairly inexpensive, the beginner ones. Obviously, you got some Sneaky Petes out there that are a little bit higher. You actually have some Sneaky Pete's out there that are made with carbon fiber, which is the lowest deflection shaft that you can get thus far because of its design, that look like wood. So that's pretty cool. Just to name a couple brands out there, if you were ever wondering, hey, what brand should I be looking for out there when I'm shopping at the local pool store? First of all, ask if you have a good pool distributor or pool cue distributor. They're going to tell you the honest truth. All pool players, everybody who's involved in pool, it's not about the money. It's about how you feel about the pool cue, and that's what I found. So I want to give a shout out to Jesse, who sold me my 15K and put on a tip on it just recently. Unfortunately, the brake cue that you gave me, the phenolic tip popped off because I guess I hit so hard because I got a big buck swing. But yeah, I'm gonna probably come see you to get that fixed. So yeah. Anyway, just a couple pool cues that you might want to look for. Action Pool Cue they have a good line for beginners. Q-Tech. We got Joss, we got Lacassi. Lacassi is a little bit high end, but you know, I never got into the Lacassi, but and then we got Lucky Pool Cues, and then we got a McDermott. So any of those pool cues that you want to try out, give those a try. Let's jump into the chat here. Let me see. Let me catch up with everybody. What everybody's saying. Chuck is saying, I thought I was pool god my first cue. I think funny story is I think I felt the same way because it seemed like my pool game jumped. At least I felt better about it, and I can understand why you're saying that. Rooster says my first cue was a plain green McDermott with a get what you get and don't throw a fit tip. A fit tip. Is that one of those that you screw on? I'm not sure what you're saying. It might be have been a LePro as well. Oh wow, a LePro. So it looks like Chuck is shooting. You shoot with a Mucci now. Let's see. Conical taper is normal for billiards and snooker, not pool. Yes, that is true. So the first time that I saw a snooker cue, I was floored. I was like, how? The tip is like tiny, and it's just, and the design, like visually, for me, because I started out with normal pool cues, and then like, you know, because the Philippines, they make some pretty I don't know, some awkward, to me they're awkward looking pool cues that look like broomsticks, really. But you know, in the right hands, and soft tips. Oh my god, like they literally look like paintbrushes to me. So that, and you know, put that pool cue in the right hands though, then dangerous. Mr. Edit, number one Sneaky Pete's. You like Sneaky Pete's? Do you have a Sneaky Pete? Players, Mr. Edit says I like Lucasi. Actually, you know, I don't think I know what you actually shoot with, Darren. So let me know what you actually shoot with. Let's see, shooting with one current. Oh, okay. Shooting with the Lucasi now. Players play well. Yes, players do play well. I do have a matter of fact, that is the pool cue that my son shoots with, and has been shooting with, and he shoots. Sometimes I've seen him shoot lights out with that thing. So. Definitely works for him. Elk Master tips. Shred leather and glue. Yep. So Dana, you are the connoisseur not only with alcohol drinks, but what in your opinion is the best tip to start off with after after, let's say that, you run down a tip and a beginner's like, oh, I need my tip replaced, and they go to their local pool distributor, what tip do you think they should put on? So, Mr. Edit says, I have a bunch of them. So, Mr. Edit, do you do your own pool stick maintenance? And if you do, you should do a video on that, because I would like to know how to change out my own tips. I could definitely save anywhere from $30 to $45. So you're saying a Lacoste Sneaky Pete custom cue is 300? Is 300? Is that how much you paid for it? That's cool. Backyard Billiard says, or I'm assuming that you have a Kamui tip. Wow, that is amazing. I'm not there yet where I can spend $30 to $45 on a tip. So that's crazy. Practice room, medium hardness, single layer. They're not ready for layer because they can't shape them consistently. Yes, I agree with that, because one of the things, also I want to say what's up to John Knight. Hey, how's it going? Thank you very much for accepting my friend request. Appreciate you. Right now we're talking about what it means and how it felt when you got your first two-piece pool cue after you've graduated from the bar cue. So, yes, one of the things that drives me nuts about people who shape their cues, they usually get the one that looks like a little knuckle, like a little nut that has some roughage in it, and then they put it on the floor and they put it between their toes, and then they spin their cue as if they're starting a fire. Now, unless you know how to spin that cue like a lathe, like straight, without any variance, you're going to have an uneven tip. There's no doubt about it. That's from my experience. And usually they do it too long, where they spin it and then they turn it over to get the rubbish out, and you have a little pile of just disintegrated leather in a little pile. I think that's waste of money. And then you have people who do it too hard, where they rub the tip off, or they get the tip to the point where they hit hard with it and the tip flies off, and they're like, oh, I don't know what happened. That's what happened. And another thing, please, those of you who think that it's a good idea to take like a scratchy pad or some kind of fine sandpaper that is below 700, don't do that to your cue. Go get it. First of all, clean it yourself. Yes, indeed. And if you have any kind of blemishes and whatnot, take it to your pool distributor and have them, because 9 times out of 10 you're gonna have, especially if you get like these good relationships with your pool distributor, they will clean it and surface it for you off a lathe for free most of the time. At least I know my guy does that. So don't try to do it yourself, because most people that do that, they don't understand that the ferrule sometimes is made out of a material that scruff transfers onto the ferrule, and then you have this rubbed out ferrule and it's all uneven. Just don't do it. Have it professionally done, especially if you care about your sticks. Let's see, practice room. Willard's is one a lot of new that new people get. The one you're thinking of is called the Ultimate Tip Tool. I see. Let's see. Mori tip is good. Okay, let me know what Mori tip's all about, and if they are, because I don't think I've ever heard of a Mori tip. Let's see, both will wreck your tip, especially layered ones. Yep. Rooster says, my uncle did the chalk on the floor spin And that, okay, all right, let's talk about chalk maintenance, okay? Those of you out there, give me a what's up if you understand what I'm talking about. Drives me nuts to pull some chalk and see that it's been burrowed out damn near to the back, and it's just as if somebody drilled it and whatnot. Those of you who are just starting out with pool, and you're trying to figure out how to chalk, you chalk evenly, all right? Don't grind it as if you're trying to make a hole right down the center, all right? Use all that chalk, because all that, like on those chalks that have holes in them, that's just wasted chalk on the sides, all right? Don't do that. It's terrible. Plus, it keeps you, it dirties up your ferrule. The ferrule really is used more for a visual when you're aiming and whatnot. So let's see, what else do we got here? Practice room, both. Yep, we already said that. Practice room, I use Maury's, but they're very expensive. So Maury's, I guess that's the same one that Chuck was trying to say, Maury. I would assume you put the correct spelling, but that's okay. I do that too. I am not good with words. I'm just good with math. So Maury's is expensive. How much are we talking here? Let us know that. Micarta is it's soft. All right. So do you agree? Like new players should not be using a soft tip? Let me know. Chuck says my Predator tip was $25. Okay, that's not as bad as the Kamui tip. Let's see. I trimmed the walls down after the hole gets too deep. I assume that you're talking about the chalk. Do you do it with like a pocket knife on your spare time or whatnot? Okay. I made videos on. Oh, cool. Practice room, Dana. I have made videos on all of this, just haven't posted it, including how to wreck a ferrule in 10 seconds by chalking wrong. Ooh. So those of you out there, go to, or make sure that you are subscribed to the Practice Rooms YouTube channel so we can look out for these videos. I am very excited and looking forward to seeing these videos. So let's see, backyard, so it does not get on my ferrule. Yep, absolutely. All right, well, I think that pretty sums up my opinion on when you're getting a new cue and you're a new player, and the benefits of getting a new or a two-piece pool cue. Again, just the feel of it. You're gonna know the piece of equipment because it's yours. You're gonna be a little bit more focused about what you're doing because now you're invested in this sport that you're trying to learn. So you're gonna be concentrating on your fundamentals. You definitely want to make more runs happen. You want to be able to control that cue ball, and that just starts with your fundamentals. Your consistency is gonna definitely get higher with your own pool cue because, like what I said, you're gonna pay more attention to what you're doing. You're gonna take your time and whatnot. So let's talk about cue, pool cue maintenance. Not maintenance, but how to take care of it. All right. I'm gonna open this up real quick out there to the chat room. When you take care of your pool cue, give me some ideas of some of the things that you should not do when taking care of a pool cue to help it last longer, and to get the best bang. Because let's be honest, pool cues aren't cheap, especially if you start when you start looking at inlays and you start looking at performance and you start looking at brand names, they definitely get expensive. What are some of the things that you guys out there think that you should do to take care of your pool cue? I'm going to start naming some off. If you incidentally say it, good on you. And we both feel the same way. Let's see, practice room or backyard, so it doesn't get my fault. Yep. The practice room. Do you think owning a cue puts a kind of stage fright into new players, as if they feel expected to play better with them? Yes and no. That is a great point, Dana. And here's my thing. When people come in with their own pool cue, especially in a bar that generally does not have any like set pool players. I mean, you now and again you'll find those places where, you know, everybody usually just uses the bar cue and nobody really plays league out of there and whatnot. But then you have somebody who comes in with a pool cue of their own in a case that you know, was bought, or even one of those flimsy one shaft cases, you know. Immediately people think that you're a hustler. Immediately people think that you are a shark. Immediately people think that you shoot really, you know. Now, if this person just got their pool cue and they are walking into this situation, yeah, I seriously think that stage fright, especially if they haven't worked on their fundamentals and they're just like, oh, I got this new pool cue, let me go shoot. And then, you know, but then you get the top gun in there, whether or not they shoot with a house cue or not, aiming for you because they want to see how good you are. So, yeah, I do think that there is a little bit of stage fright in there. When I first went into my first bar and bought my own cue, my first couple of shots were tanked because there was this expectation that you shoot, you know. But I think the experience is different for everybody. Chuck says microfiber cloth in your case. Yes, I understand. The reason why Chuck is saying microfiber is because that is a good material that doesn't. It's gentle on your shaft, but it does what it's supposed to do, which is get the dirt and the oil and the wax and whatever off your shaft, and it doesn't damage it. It's not the stick, it's the sticker. And that's true. I agree with you, John, that it's not the stick, it's the sticker. I like dry erase sponge. Wow, I think that's the first I've ever heard of that, dry erase sponge. Like, are you talking about like from Mr. Clean, or are we talking about like from a blackboard? The practice room for wood, no water. Yes, I agree with that. Reason why? Because water will make it swell, depending on the humidity, how dry it is, how hot it is. Ever. No sandpaper ever. Also, yes, indeed. Dentured alcohol, methanol hydrate, cue cleaner, piece of leather to burnish, and cue wax. That is it for me. Do you have a video on that? Because I would love to see that so we can all take care of our cues the right way. Magic eraser, I hear, works well. Remove stains off shafts. Well, yeah. I think the only time that you'll really ever get a stain on your shaft is if you're shooting on a table that has some kind of plastic situation on the rails or on the edges of it. But yeah, I get that. Okay, so my what I do to take care of my shafts, or my shafts, that doesn't sound right. My pool cues is one, I don't leave it in my car. Not just because, and even though that I have a carbon fiber shaft, the tip is not made of the same material. So what what I do is I always bring it in and I leave it in a kind of semi-neutral environment. And sometimes I will open up the top so that it can breathe. I don't leave it in my car for the second reason, which is just recently I heard that our friend the Rocket had some pool cues stolen out of his vehicle, and that's not a cool thing. It's not a cool thing that somebody would do thievery. It's not a cool thing to lose your pool cues, especially if for him, he probably gets endorsed by other pool companies and they'll be like, oh, no problem, we'll send you a replacement, there you go. For people like me who spend like anywhere from $700 to $1,000 on my cue, and it gets stolen, it hits hard on the mental, it hits hard in the pocketbook, and it just leaves you a bad taste about how people are, I guess. But there's more good. I like to think there's more good people than bad people out there anyway. So yeah. Again, like what Dana's saying, do not use sandpaper on it. Please don't. Don't use the scrubby pads on them because they can be just as aggressive as sandpaper. I will have to edit them together, play raw footage in Discord another day. Okay, yeah, looking forward to that. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Now let's see. I never clean these damn things enough. I do have a wax, which is pretty much kind of like a Carnarbo wax made for pool cues. If you put a layer of that on, get it into the material, and then wipe it off with a clean rag, and then take some leather and then move it back and forth to the point where it heats up. It smooths it out nice. Unfortunately, after a couple uses, it becomes kind of a magnet of dust and whatnot. So like the maintenance on that does come up a little bit on it, but for the most part, it keeps the cue clean. So, yep, that's pretty good. And with fiber shafts, basically, you just got to keep it clean. And for my 15K Synergy, it just seems like they're basically alcohol wipes. So that's pretty standard, I guess, or whatnot. But you don't want to get that alcohol to the tip, so make sure that when you're cleaning it, you don't like take the wipe and like go once over the tip. So don't do that. Tip maintenance: use a shaper that you know how to use. I think that's very important. So you have different shapers out there. You have the one that is meant for you to just rough. And then there's ones out there that are meant for shaping. So like I've seen the one that you it's like a big spoon, and then the surface of the convex portion of it is like really gritty, and that is actually meant to be kind of tapped on top and not, I guess, used as a fire starter, because that will just rip that leather out of there. So don't use that. When you do find a shaper or whatnot, again, ask your pool distributor what works best, because hey, like I said, they want you to be satisfied with your pool cue. It's not like you're going to a car dealership and they're trying to get as much money out of you, at least with my guy out there, because they want that repeat business. Because if they give you some bad advice and it seems like you're just continually coming back for the thing that you're trying to avoid, obviously you're going to go somewhere else. So there's that. Okay, let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, Sweet Dana, I never clean these. Yep. Yeah, it's ethyl, I think, not ISO trophy. Oh, those are definitely chemicals that I don't think I mess around with. So, all right. Well, looking at the time, looks like I fulfilled my hour. I want to say thank you very much for everybody has joined me on here. So looking at the current viewers, I had about, I don't know, 8 at the most at one time. Thank you very much for those 8 people. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much for tuning in and spending an hour with me discussing what to look for when you're looking for your first 2-piece pool cue. Also hearing my opinion about who my top 3 Pacific Asian Islander pool players are. Again, number 1 would be Efren Reyes, number 2 was Jennette L, and number 3 was Alex Pagalayan. And then just you guys, just interacting with you guys. I love it. You are definitely the highlight of my Thursday, seeing you guys on here. So super excited about that. I'm going to do some promo for our Creators 2, which is next Thursday. So for those of you who are on here right now do understand that if I had not invited you to, it's not because I don't want you to. It's just, I've already talked to these guys ahead of time. So I got Mr. Edit, I got AJ, I got Ruben, and I got Dana. So that should be pretty fun. I'm going to have something for us to do. It's definitely going to be worth your while to check it out. So Dana says, always good. Good times didn't mean to yammer so much. Delirious from lack of sleep. You know what? Oh, I hear you, bro. I've had long days. So what's going on with work? We're going into 12-hour days, so that's why I was a little tardy today. So I apologize to everybody out there. Again, if you're local, I am holding another 8-ball pool tournament over the break room. Check that out. Shout out to my buddy Jeff Ost. I hope you feel better. Shout out to my other host, Daniel Wingate. I hope you had a good time with your family. Thank you for understanding. And I still love you guys. Another thing. Not this weekend, but next weekend. Myself and Jeff Ost, we're going to Kennewick, Washington to play in a triple Scotch triples for some cha-ching. So hopefully we come back victorious. That should be fun. That's the first time I'll ever be playing Scotch triples. Should be kind of interesting to check out. I'll try to stream that if I can. It all hinges on how good my my hotspot is on my phone. So anyway, again, thank you very much. Love you guys. And as always, as I always say, I hope to see you guys on the pool table, but I mean that earnestly. Like, I hope someday I get to personally meet Dana and personally meet Mr. Edit and personally meet Backyard Billiards and Jim and Chris and, all you guys, John Knight. Hopefully someday our paths take ourselves where we come together and do the thing that we love. So anyway, you guys have a good one. Stay safe. And I already said it. Hope to see you on the table.